Ooh. What it do? What it do? What it do? Let's make some changes real quick to my title. Welcome to the show. This is the Digital Pit Boss, where the real is spoken. Drop a little clarity as I listen to the sheeples, as I listen to the investment dummies try to convince themselves that they've gotten into a profitable situation. With it do true light early in the building, huh? Welcome to the show, young brother. I'm assuming y'all keeping up with Jay Morrison. We done trying to break down, is it a scam? Is it real? We done with that part. That's behind me. It is what it is. The latest in the chapter, I just felt I had to do a little something on this. As I sat there and listened to an hour and something of what appeared to me to be a logistical nightmare. I'm using Jay as an example, a sample of an example, because there's more to come. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, let me start off by laying down a little bit of leather and wood. Let's listen to Jay break down what he want to
do. Or high performing, either way, projects as well, meaning they may not have as much historical or social significance, but they're great real estate deals. They're great investments, and we want to perform. So we all get profits, and we split those profits together, and we make money together, and we celebrate, and we're happy, and we show that, look what we did. Despite whatever you said, look what we did, right? And not even despite what anyone said, look what we did for us outside of, let's keep the outside influences outside. Internally, let's see how we can break bread together, right? And so how we're gonna effectively do this, one way is I've had personal conversations with several real estate influencers, real estate developers, investors, leaders, those who I respect in the community, those who I've seen their track record, I've seen their work, I've seen their organization and their infrastructure, and I believe in them, such as Ramon Tukes here in Atlanta with Flipology. He's on a tour right now. I think it's the collaboration tour. So shout out to Ramon Tukes with Flipology and his organization. We're going to be partnering with them, right? We're talking about my brother Benedict Guerrier. He owns La Rouge Lounge on Broad Street, Newark, New Jersey, in Alpha.
Now let me stop real quick. So here you got an SEC real estate investment fund. It then gathered some money. Now the second wave appears to be partnership with developers and real estate flippers. Let's take a look at that. So you, as a piece of paper holder, say you got $500, better yet, 1,000. You done doubled up. You done went all in. You put $1,000 in. Now Jay gonna take your money and go over to an investor, a partner, a real partner. So let's say he goes over to whoever, this Ramon guy at Flipology, says, look, bro, you know, I didn't galvanize the people's money. We're trying to make a profit. So the Tulsa Real Estate Fund partners up with Flipology and they purchase $1 million home for the flip. He's going to allow this partnership with Flipology, and I'm assuming it's going to be a 50-50 cut between the fund and Flipology. Let's just assume that's the deal, 50-50. So they buy $1 million property. Let's say it has a value of $400,000 in the property. They get the property. Let's say they spend $100,000 getting it ready for the market. $300,000 left. Say they get it on the market and they get full price. They make $300,000 profit. Now immediately, this profit is divided between the two partners, the fund and this Ramon Flipology. $150 to Ramon Flipology. Basically what he did is he handled all the business to relieve the logistical nightmare that Jay has created for himself. Deal goes down smooth. Now, what is Flipology going to do? Is he going to turn around? I'm sure he make money like that. As a token, he might drop $10,000 into the fund. Become a partnership in the fund. But that's just a token, because he sees that in the future, he can continue to exacerbate this fund and take more riskier chances in the market. Doom and gloom is on the way. Doom and gloom in the form of falling real estate prices. Doom and gloom in the sense that the market is at an all-time peak. And though there are many deals out there, many homes lost to the bank, many opportunities to find a deal. In order for this fund to return any decent amount of profit, it has to get the money into play. More than 80% needs to get in play. As Jay is bewildered by the amount of logistical things that need to be done. What does he need? Lawyers, CPAs, photographers, videographers, all who need to get paid from the fund. They're working for the fund. Now, mind you, the Jay Morrison Academy is going to benefit dual roles on these people. If you hire a lawyer to deal with various functions of the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, he still has Jay Morrison Academy. He was also investing in real estate. Separate, totally separate. But now he's able to reduce his costs by utilizing some of the professionals that are being paid by the fund. This is where the scam gets very critical. No one for now can determine who's getting paid by what, for what. And as he brings in these so-called partners, I thought you were a partner. Well, you are. You're a silent partner. You're a piece of paper holder. You've bought yourself a piece of paper according to your size of investment. That'll be your preferred interest in all future deals. It's obvious it's a learning curve from the rip. It's obvious that $10 million in such a fund with the preferred 8% return is quite a challenge. He has to get through this marriage thing first. See how much money he brings in off that. And as he climbs past the marriage, gets that out the way, and the honeymoon, now we can get down to business. He put complete focus. So he's bringing in this team to call out to the wild. Send in your ideas, your investments. Send us your resumes. Some people aren't smart enough on how to fill out their investment forms on the site. So he has over 1,000 people who has incorrect information. They need to fix that before they can move forward. This is part of the logistical nightmare. He also has issues just delivering an emailed certificate that you have to print out. No problem. It's the digital age. So now, this is how Pit Boss was able to determine that this is a scam in the making, only because I'm very familiar with what needs to be done. Let me see. We're going to take a wild shot. Okay, somebody hit me up in my email. Let me see. Let me text my partner. Let him know I'm on the show. Call in if you can. Let me see. Let me go to my email. If he's free, he's a busy guy, he says. You know what I think about people who busy. That means you ain't getting no money. You busy. People with money ain't never busy. People getting money ain't never busy. They just got things to do. But when you're working like a slave, well, they lay you back. Hold on, let me find them. I'm trying to do too much at once. Too much at once. There you go. Call me on my show. All right, I sent him a quick little text. Let's find out who's emailing me real quick before I finish the show. It looks like okay. It says no problem. I have a question for you, player. After reviewing the live stream yesterday, I see it work in one at a time. I'm trying to get approval to cut and edit the combo down to about 2 minutes and 15 minutes long to post on my channel. Please subscribe. Do as you will. Do as you will. All right. So that was just a little approval. Yeah. So fly. We playing little excerpts. Welcome to the show, Million Man Movement. I just gave you some approval if that was you. Takes me. No problem. Take it down, bust it down, do what you like. As you see, it's clarity in a conversation when you learn to let people get to their period as they make a statement, because even though they may sound ridiculous to you, to the listener, he's unaware of both individuals' intellectual capacities, and he needs to hear you out clearly to determine if you're an idiot or not, or if you're a genius. Only way to do that is to wait your turn and let the conversation unfold. You know how we do it, bro. Get to it, though. What's up with you, Rizzy B. Hart? Welcome to the show. I figure y'all kind of like these Jay Morrison videos. And though we're not really going to go super duper hard, just following along. It's no need to harass the brother. He got a logistical nightmare on his hands. It hasn't even got started. At this stage, no purchases have been made, only considerations. But he doesn't want to eat up his time. See, first of all, with $10 million, it probably wouldn't be beneficial to the fund if they partnered too many deals. It's too much profit being eaten up by the partnership of a 50-50 split. That lowers the value of the fund. This is the reason why he wanted 50 million, so that they can be independent. But he would have did the same thing. Hold on. Mr. Hall, how you doing, bro? I'm live on my show, so I just want to make you aware of that. And we was talking about the Jay Morrison Tulsa, Oklahoma Fund, and I have made my audience aware of you, and there's a couple of them that they would like to interview you maybe after, you know, we do this show here. But did you get an opportunity to check out some of that info I sent you?
Yes, sir. I did get a chance to check out a little bit of it.
And what did you think based upon what you've seen? And I know you kind of new to the whole Jay Morrison thing, but, you know, what was your professional analyzation?
Well, honestly, I mean, what he's talking about makes sense. I am, as you know, Mr. Hayes, a proponent of financial independence, financial literacy, income, having the ability to take what you do, and whether it's through real estate or having employees work for you, whatever the case, make more money than you can make on your own. And so in that regard, what he's doing is not nothing new. It's been done before. And so kudos to him for having the foresight to really be in a position to educate people about ways you can make money, because obviously working a 9 to 5 for someone has never got anybody wealthy. I'm always one to caution anyone before investing into any endeavor to make sure that they do their research, dot their I's, cross their T's. The reality is information, we live in the information age, no doubt. And so information, there's a plethora of it all over the internet, in books, in the library. And so many times what so-called experts will do is take that information, put it together, congregate it in a way that they can deliver it in a marketable way, and then say, hey, follow me, let me show you the way to financial independence and freedom. And so I just, you know, would caution anybody that's just taking the advice of an expert and underestimating their own knowledge of things that they can do on their own. And that's pretty much, you know, what I see, that he's doing a good job of educating people about things that are true, real estate, people come together as investors to buy real estate and leverage real estate. It's always going to be there. It's not going anywhere. But I would just tell anyone, I've seen a lot of people lose money, whether it's in the stock market, whether it's in systems where you put money together to invest, or it's always a risk in investment. What we have to do is ask ourselves as consumers and investors, is the risk versus the reward, and how much can I really afford to lose in any endeavor?
I love your opinion on that. Now, let me ask you a few questions. Okay, first, let us know when you began to work with Ephraim Taylor, and also what was the structure of the deals at the time that you were working along with Ephraim Taylor?
Well, I first began working with them in January of 2008. And pretty much the structure of the deals was Mr. Taylor was teaching folks how to take their IRAs, individual retirement accounts, and self-direct them. Meaning, as opposed to having a company like a Vanguard or a Fidelity or any of those other type of companies make investment decisions for you or with your input. They would say, look, take that control in your own hands, because there's so many things you can do outside the stock market, such investing in real estate, whether it's to find, fix, and flip, buy and hold, rent. You can invest in things like franchises and things of that nature. And so initially he was just focused on the real estate part of self-directing and teaching people how to self-direct IRAs. And then ultimately, probably at the end of 2008, he started to venture out a little bit more and showing people how to fund their business transactions. And it's a good idea, because the stock market can be quite volatile, as we all know. When it comes to real estate, you make your money when you buy, and if you buy it correctly, there's a good chance for long-term wealth. And so that's what he was doing. He was showing people how to self-direct IRAs using what's called custodial banks. These are institutions that simply hold the money in trust. They don't give you any investment advice. It's against the law for them to do so. But they hold the money so that you can move the money around freely as you choose what's the best investment for you. And then they report those transactions to the government, because obviously the government wants to get their cut of all applicable transactions that require a tax be paid. And so they just report transactions and let them know how the money comes in and goes out, because it is still an IRA account. And mind you, those taxes are just being deferred. At some point, they will expect a payment on the capital gain tax. And so that's what Mr. Taylor was doing. And he was quite effective at it when I met him in January 2008.
Okay, now what was his percentage cut? What would he take? What was the structure of the deal in the sense of the interest rates and what your return would be and what he would get?
They varied. He would typically take about a 5 to 10% transaction fee or administration fee, because as I said, the custodial banks couldn't give advice. So you would need someone like him that understood the ins and outs and how to make these IRAs work. And so for the consultation, for the transaction oversight, he would charge a fee of anywhere from 5 to 10% to put everything in place, of the actual account. So if it's a $100,000 account, he would get anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 to put everything together, facilitate all the paperwork, make sure everything is upfront. On the investment side, say you were going to invest $50,000 of your money into real estate, you can negotiate a set, or not a set, but a variable rate of return. And so if you was to get like 17 or 25%, he may say, well, I'll take 6%, because we got the boots on the ground, we got the construction folks in place, we got the real estate going to do the work. So it would vary. Typically, you may see anywhere from another 10 to 20, 25%. It just depends.
Okay. Now, would you have ownership? Let's say you had $100,000 and you negotiated with him to purchase an apartment building. Would you have ownership in that apartment building, or would you just be holding a share?
You would have complete ownership, or your IRA would. You would be encouraged to set up an LLC. That way you can reduce your liability, obviously, against lawsuits and exposure. And you would own that LLC, or your IRA would. Once you put it in your name, now obviously there's penalties and things of that nature, because it's still an IRA account. And so you would be encouraged to formulate an LLC, and the IRA would own that particular building or real estate, location, whatever the case may be. So
okay.
You would actually own, your IRA would own.
Okay, now was Ephraim Taylor set up by the SEC? Was his company as SEC regulated?
To be honest, it was supposed to be. And I believe when I met him, I was under the impression it was. I'm not going to say yes or no to that question, because obviously what ended up happening to Mr. Taylor, there was a lot of integral parts, and there very complex situation. So I really don't know, to be honest with you. I know he should have been, because he was a publicly traded company, although it was on the pink sheets, the penny stocks. So it should have been everything that they did should have been regulated.
Now, the way you explain it, it appears that Ephraim Taylor actually offered a better deal than Jay Morrison, based on your example, as what Jay Morrison is doing. He's taking that same 5% management fee. He's also offering a 8% preferred, and this is based on about a 30% return on the investment. But in his circumstance, you do not actually own any property. You are just a shareholder in a fund. And the fund, and his fund is the owners of the real estate. And he's just, he's being regulated by the SEC to do the right things. But you yourself, and you also cannot like just acquire your investment back. So he has a 12-month lockup before he has to pay out a preferred. And then once he has to pay out the preferred, he has small print that you wouldn't be able to just say, hey, you know, I gave you 100,000. I would like, you know, 70,000 back and keep the 30 for, you know, flip the 30. You wouldn't be able to do that in the way that he has his deal constructed. So it sounds like at the time, Ephraim Taylor had a much better opportunity where he was just guiding you where to direct your own IRA, as you explained. So now, I mean, would that be a structure that you would consider giving $500 to, just out of being a part of it?
Personally, I would not, because I would never want to give up control, as you said. You know, Mr. Taylor's setup was very appealing because you maintain ownership of the fund. So really, you weren't necessarily, you could invest cash from a savings account or a checking account or whatever. Most of our clients were IRA rollovers, but the problem in any of these situations is when you give up control or access to your capital. And that's where Mr. Taylor clients went wrong, is that they gave up access so that their accounts could be liquidated to purchase these various investments. And obviously that's like giving someone the ATM PIN number to your bank account, which I would never do. You know, my wife, she's the only person that we share accounts. But other than that, I don't care how much someone claims they're worth, how many books they've written, how many links they have on YouTube. I mean, Mr. Taylor was on MSNBC, Fox News. He was a well-spoken, well-documented media guy. But when you give control of your resources to someone else, you definitely put yourself in a precarious situation, because once those funds have been used, God forbid, in a bad way, then as many people found out in Ephraim Taylor's case, the chance of you ever getting your money back is slim to none.
Now, at what point? Because I realized that you didn't go to jail with the rest of the crew that was over there, so obviously you were not performing any of the criminal acts that may have been put upon his group. But you know at what point did you decide to depart from the Ephraim Taylor, and what were the signs that you began to notice to where you felt like this was no longer for you?
I departed probably 14 months into my tenure with him, and I really realized it wasn't for me, because again, when you have a situation, when you're reaching out to the public or you're soliciting the public to help them invest, and then you as a facilitator don't move those funds fast enough, it creates a very, I guess, the situation is tempting. Let's just say that, to say the least, to the person running the organization. So what begins to happen is you begin to accumulate all of this money, and in Ephraim Taylor's case, it's millions of dollars, and you have access to them. And now me as a sales guy, as an account manager, I'm looking and saying, well, you're not doing what we pitched these people you were going to do fast enough. And so you're constantly, I think we brought in the year I was with them about 5.2 million, 5.7. And so when you're not moving that money quick enough, that creates a situation, because the market began to fall, as we all remember, around 2009, 10, 8, whatever the case is. And so people begin to want their money back. And now, supposedly it should have been moved. If it hasn't been moved, if you have a certain group that want their money back, now you're obligated, in his case, to give his money back. I don't believe there was a guaranteed lock-in period where you're locked away from your money. And so I just realized that, everything that he was bringing in was pretty much going to run the company. Payroll, office space, lights, travel, everything that was being brought in was going to run a company. And I'm not saying that there's something wrong with that, but I think there are regulations as to how much, because obviously if I take your money, unless it says $100,000, it's still your money. Whatever fees we agree upon, 5%, 10%, whatever, that's my fee. The rest is your money. And so when I realized that he wasn't moving the money fast enough, and some people began to want to liquidate, and he was feeding them excuses and alibis, I just said, okay, something's wrong here. And so I confronted him. He acknowledged that things weren't as good as they appeared, and that's all I needed to know was okay, this is not for me. I'm not going to stay around for the fallout, because I know how this particular game is.
So then, so basically the logistics of running the company can become overwhelming and then tempting for the individual running it, that he may have some bills he need to pay, but yet hasn't, got a return on some of the investments. And therefore you're saying they can tend to dip into the account?
Correct. Absolutely. Again, if giving someone access to your sources, and they have some life circumstances of their own, and that money's just sitting there, then it's a possibility. It's quite likely that they could dip into that money to meet their own financial obligations or the obligation of the company. And that's where he made his mistake. That's where he went wrong. And at that point, it was only a matter of time before the feds, put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Okay. And what was his end conclusion? What was the end conclusion of his story?
Well, 18 years. 18. I mean, that was the conclusion. I think about 16, 18 months after my departure, he continued what he was doing. I told him I wanted to be no part of it. I suggested that he quickly restructure so that he can get his hands around everything. And he was like, I got this, my company. I said, hey, do your thing. So about 18 months later, I want to say, everything came to a crashing end. And he received 18 years for his crimes.
So what you're saying, if someone has the ability to handle the logistics of such a fund, then these returns can be returned based on a good market. How do you feel about the current real estate market as we are today? What is your some of your feelings about real estate in general today?
I think personally, you make money when you buy real estate, and if you know what you're doing, you can make money in a good market or in a down market of real estate. However, to answer your question, I believe, and based on the experts I've consulted, we're heading towards another bubble. It may not be as bad as 2008 through 12, but it's definitely coming, because what begins to happen, as you notice, the real estate market, like everything else in our country, is driven by politics. And so the governing bodies now are making it so that the banks can simply do what they did before. You're starting to hear again about no doc loans and no money down loans and things of that nature. You have investors doing what's called forced appreciation. My wife and I were just about to close on a new house earlier this year, and we decided to hold back and not pull the trigger and just wait. Because, based on what investors are telling me, we're headed for a slight burst again. But what's interesting is that we were going to close at a price, certain price. The Friday after I was going to put down my down payment, that Monday, that same subdivision raised the rates on the same size lot, same size house, everything I was going to purchase, about $4,000. So from Friday to Monday, they raised the base price of the property $4,000. That's what's called forced appreciation. And when we start to see these patterns and these trends is happening, if you think back, this country historically is known for recessions and expansions. It has about a 10-year cycle where we'll see recession and we'll see expansion. And we've seen some expansion ever since one administration has taken over and handed off to another administration. So I just believe personally that we're due for another recession here. How bad? I'm not by no means in a professional capacity to say how bad it would be, but that's just my opinion. So I would definitely look to buy wholesale, not retail, if you want to make money in the real estate business here in our current market.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you. I think we got about 2 years left of any kind of appreciation in retail real estate. And in my eyes, the market is pretty much topped out. As you know, back at that time when you were working for Ephraim Taylor, and I just like to let people know, I've been knowing you probably we were like 3 years old when we first met.
Yes, sir. My first friend.
And so by the time you came out here to Atlanta, I don't believe that Ephraim Taylor had made it over there to New Birth at that time. This was at least about a year or two before the New Birth episode, right?
Yeah, that's correct. When I got with him in 2008, I think we came out to Atlanta and you came over and took a look. And so he had not yet. I was already had departed once he got the New Birth event signed and whatnot. So yeah, he went there in 2009, maybe 2010. I want to say 2010 is when he went over to New Birth.
Okay. I know you had said a little something about you tried to warn them, but I guess they didn't heed the call.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to warn him twice to the reality of what was taking place and how he was operating. But you know, sometimes folks got to learn the hard way. I feel for those people who were victims to his setup, you know. But you know, some people, you know, and he had a way of just really using the media to his advantage and to the things he had accomplished early on in his career. So I wish they would have listened, but they didn't. I tried to warn them twice.
Okay. Now, so back on to the Jay Morrison. So from my eyes, I just feel like the structure of his deal and the current real estate market would make it a difficult feat to accomplish. Because he basically has to come back with a roughly about a 30% return. And he put out a video recently, and it appears that he's trying to create his logistics. And it seems like he needs an awful lot of help. Everything from web management to deals presented to just sending out people shareholder documents to, you know, of what they own in the company. I'm not sure how much time you've had to really examine the particulars of his deal, but I mean, do you feel that it's possible to continue a let's say a 30% return on $10 million as far as all these logistical fees that you are aware of when operating such a fund?
Well, first thing I learned when I really began to take notice of what Mr. Taylor was doing is that 30% return on investment is pretty much unheard of. If you look at REITs, as people pronounce them, real estate investment trust, you know, they're averaging what the S&P averages, anywhere from a 7 to 10, 11% return. You're doing good. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Over 100 years, the S&P, the Dow, these guys bring back about a 9 or 10% return. And so one thing I learned is that, you know, you get into dangerous waters when you start telling folks they're going to get a 20, 30% return on their investment, because if you do, it's like hitting a home run every now and then. It's not something that can consistently just said, especially in times where you have so much that you have to manage, so many things that have to be done. I mean, if that was the case, we'd be hearing about it. It'd be all over the news that this particular fund or that particular fund is getting 30% for their clients. And so the first thing, when you start telling people that I all but guarantee this much of return, you know, I'm in the insurance business, and I pretty much buy and sell money, and I deal with very large companies. None of them guarantee anything. When it comes to investing, you know, on the index universal life right now, because the stock market is good, I think people are seeing returns of 9, 10, 12%. I haven't heard anybody except people like Mr. Taylor and others who say, you know, if you invest in this, you're going to get a 30% return, because you just don't know.
Yeah. Now let me be clear. Let me clarify. He's not making any guarantee. He's just giving the likelihood of how one could expect to see a 8% preferred return. It's based on a 30% return. So he's not guaranteeing that he'll actually make 30%. He's just saying, assuming that we created 30% return, here's how the cut would go. And then once again, that cut would be 5% as a management fee, an 8% preferred return, and a 50% chop on the remaining balance, and 50% will go to Jay Morrison. The other 50% will be returned to the fund to enlarge the fund. So just in the idea, even in that idea, that's only $80 on 1,000.
And I like the way that you cleared that up for me, because I didn't want to infer that he was guaranteeing, but the language, look at the language that he's chosen based on and the assumption of this, that, and the third. And so that's how you remain off the radar, because he's not guaranteeing, but he's saying based on, well, I can see, well, based on my luck in the past, I'm probably going to make $1 million this year. Based on what I learned over here, the chances are good, or the assumption is that I'm going to make $1,000 a day for the next 6 months. And so, I mean, if you're wording it right and you're keeping your language tight and legal, then obviously, you know, you're fine in terms of what the SEC or the FTC considers violations. But I'm just saying, to answer your question realistically, you know, 30% return on an annual basis, I mean, I've heard people say it, I've never seen it personally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got some folks that said 3%, like I said, in my business, a 3%, some insurance policy you can set up to where you're looking at a 3% return monthly. Well, that's a 36% return annually on your money. Mm-hmm. But they also tell you, hey, these are speculations.
Mm-hmm.
And if you study the money game, you study Warren Buffett, real estate, stocks, bonds, it's all speculative. And that's what happened and why we got in trouble in the 08, because the market was all speculative. Well, things on the rise, people are making money, blah, blah, blah. These homes are this worth this much where they weren't.
Right.
Something is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, investing is always speculative.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just my opinion on that. I'm not saying it can't be done, but to maintain that type of return on investment, we just haven't seen it historically in the investment world with no type of investor. Stocks, bonds, real estate, or anything else.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, I have heard of a case dealing with stocks and where a guy had a ridiculous 80% type return on a regular basis, but ultimately it was found out that they were doing certain types of inside trading. So he was able to bring these returns based on inside information, which is in itself, you know, illegal to do. So eventually, you know, that comes to an end.
So in that regard, it didn't count. You know, you're absolutely right.
Exactly. It doesn't count if you're cheating. So, I mean, you definitely gave some very clear information to me, the way that you present, you know, your perspective. It seems clear to me. And I do have a couple of channels. I know you and I were going to sit down and kind of help build some of your social media platforms, get you kind of going in that direction. And I do have a couple of YouTube channels that are into finance and would like to hear about, you know, your insurance and just your perspective, you know. So when, you know, I'm sure after this particular phone call, you know, if you want to hit me up and let's get you set up on the social media platforms, and then I can bring you on or get you connected to a few of these channels so that you can go and answer some questions or give some perspective on some financial advice. Anything else you would like to add? I don't want to keep you all day, but I definitely appreciate you coming on the show and giving us a little info. But is there any other things you would like to add about, you know, these types of things and investments?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. You know, as always, I got your back like I know you have mine. So anything I can contribute to a healthy and useful dialogue, I'm always counting me in. I would just encourage everyone, do your homework, do your research. I heard Steve Jobs, we all know who he is. He said something very profound in the documentary. Your life will change profoundly the moment that you realize that everyone around you is no smarter than you are. And in most cases, they're just not. You're smarter than them. And most of us are fearful to act on that fact. And so I appreciate the things that I've experienced in life because it's helped me form my beliefs and values now. So I would encourage everyone, you know the adage, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But there's enough information out there that if you'll be willing to spend an hour or two a day studying, researching, fact-checking, you can put together a super-duper plan for yourself where you do not have to give up control of your finances or resources to anyone else to do what they're talking about you can do. And so just do your research, ask questions, take notes, and then definitely, make decisions based on the information that you gather so you can make an informed decision in any aspect.
All right. Do you have a email or something that you can give out just in case somebody listening to this show want to contact you?
Absolutely. Anthony X as in Xavier Hall, HALL @gmail.com. Anthony X Hall @gmail.com.
Okay. I'm going to put that in my chat room. Anthony X Hall @gmail.com, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So if anybody want to contact him, I posted the email, and the brother has got a lot of years of financial experience. And he's been through this Jay Morrison type of fund with personal knowledge. And he's also, you said you sell and buy money in insurance, right?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Yeah. So anybody want to hit him up? That's the Gmail. I appreciate you, homie, for, coming on the show. Long time friend of, we really like brothers now, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
we're about 40 something years. So I appreciate you, man. And I hit you up a little later, and let's see what we could do about getting some of your platforms moving.
All right, sir. I appreciate it. God bless everyone. Have a good day.
All right, peace. There you have it. The brother just came on with the clear information, no emotions to it. He doesn't even know, like he literally wasn't aware of Jay Morrison until I sent him a few videos to observe and the website, and that's as much as he's known. So he hasn't heard of Tone Talks. He ain't never even viewed my show before. So he's a total outsider, just observing and giving you his personal financial advice, and that's how you do it. It's just that simple. So, and mind you, I've been knowing him for years, and we could have went in deeper about what Pit Boss was doing, but at that time, when he invited me to come and listen to Ephraim Taylor, I didn't get into the fact that, he was totally with it. I was totally against it. He would come to find out how right I was a year later from that time. As he said, he worked with Ephraim Taylor for 14 months. And apparently when the feds kicked in the dough and waved the 4-4, he got on the flow, but he didn't leave out the dough. And he's still here doing business the right way. So I hope that helps clarify a little something to some of you who are hard of hearing. So I want to go back to the Jay Morrison. I want you to listen as he takes a few phone calls. Now, think about my man that you just listened to, Anthony X. I'm going to call him Anthony X. Think about when I explained to you, he invited me to listen. It was a better deal than what Jay Morrison is offering, and still I wasn't with it. Still I wasn't with it. And the reason I wasn't with it is because of the very fact, as he said, this would be like me giving Ephraim Taylor my PIN code to my ATM machine so that he can withdraw money and go and invest it for me. And even under the auspices of Ephraim Taylor, he redirected an IRA account into investments that you actually owned. Not a share, not a piece of paper to a real estate fund with a 12-month lockup. The problem is he never bought the property that you were going to own. He claimed that he had all of these properties with special access because of who he was. And as we listen to Jay Morrison's logistical nightmare, he doesn't even have a predetermined list of investments. That he might have some stuff, but obviously he's 20 days in and he hasn't made a purchase. So obviously the list he has, he's still speculating, because once he commits that money, it's on now. That money is removed from the fund is decreased, and the game is on. All the while, he still has a logistical nightmare on his hand. He still has to figure out, how do I get the pieces of paper to all my founders? And when will these founders correct we sent emails out and these founders are not correcting their information on the site. And then sites crash. So now we have to bring in the web developer to maintain the site, and he needs to get paid. We got secretaries that need to be paid. We got accountants that need to manage projects. We have project managers. We also got to get a barber over here. I ain't got time to get down to the barbershop. Not to mention the video editor who's going to put out our propaganda. Not to mention some graphic designers. We need flyers for the ball. Not to mention a project manager for the ball, as well as a project manager for the projects that we create. This is what you call a logistical nightmare. And as you go down an entire year, let's assume everybody was going to work for pennies, $10 an hour. Let's say we got 10 people working for $10 an hour. That's about as low budget as you can get, hope to get. So you got $100 a day, every day, for a year. $100 a day. Let's do a quick math. Let's say we only working 5 days a week. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. $500 a week times 4 weeks, or let's just say 52 weeks. Divide that in half, and that leaves us with $26,000. This is on a minimum wage salary to pay logistics for 10 people. Now ask yourself, oh wait, I'm sorry. That's $10 an hour for 10 people a day, working 8 hours a day. That's $800 a day. If my mathematics is right. Multiplied by a week. 5 times 8, 4,000. 4,000 times 4 weeks in a month. That gives us 16,000 a month. Times 10 months would be 160,000 plus 2 more months of 16,000 added to 160,000 for the additional 2 months. That brings the total in the close proximity of $180,000 a year. That goes towards logistics. Mind you, you as a founder investor, you don't eat that cost. Jay eats that cost in his 5% management fee. Well, you do eat that cost, in a word. So 5% is removed to pay this logistic fee. But we're using a $10 hour scale based on 10 people. These are not real numbers. The reality is we haven't even calculated meetings around the world. Let's assume we're going to fly to Chicago from Atlanta, one of the cheapest places to fly, and we put you on a budget of a round trip ticket for $150. You're going to be there for 2 days. We ain't going to have you living so bad, so we give you a budget of $100 per night for a hotel, when the real price is more like $150 a night for a decent hotel. And you also need to rent a car. We throw in $50 a day for that. So now we're at $400 just to get you there. You also have to eat. So we're going to give you $60 a day for food. That's another $120. Now we have $520 just to get you there, to take a look. Any other fees we can imagine that can happen to pop up? Let's throw in an additional $200 for miscellaneous. Cover all of that. $700 for one person to go take a look and come back. Now you have to take a look 30 times a year. 700 times 30. I don't even want to try to calculate that. I'll just round it off at $20,000 for you to go take a look. This is what you call a logistical nightmare. A logistical nightmare. Soulfly wants me to talk about a Grant Cardone. Soulfly, you don't support the channel. That would require Pit Boss to go research Grant Cardone. That means I'm going to have to take out hours of my time to watch all these ridiculous videos. Let's go see what you're talking about. I'm going to do this one for the free. Because I know you might have $500 locked up in that fund before you got over here to Pit Boss. Let's go see. It won't take me long.
You want to make it in roofing? You want to make it in plumbing? You want to make it in network marketing? Nobody knows you? You're not going to make it.
period. I don't care what your business is, how big your passion is, how much you love it. If I don't know you, I will not do business with you. So the old adage was people buy from people they like, people buy from people they know. And I like you the more I know you.
We're going to flip through a couple of videos.
I'm getting ready to go.
See what he's
sales team. They're on the phone every day. They think I'm going in there to talk about sales. I'm going in there to talk about money, because if you don't have your money right, if you're not thinking about money correctly, guess what? You're never going to make a sale. You're never going to push through the objections and the barriers and the hang-ups and everything that goes on in sales. It's a disappointing job. It's a tough job. It's a crazy job. It's like being an actor. Tough game, man. Right? So what would I do? I'd go out. I'm going to make 30 grand. I'm going to store 12. I'm going to pay the IRS. I'm going to live on 6. In Miami, you're like, there's no money left over. But there's 6 grand in storage right now. 6 grand, 6 grand. Keep pumping the 6. Keep pumping it until you find a place where you're like, I'm going to invest this money now. When you make this move right here, do not invest in anything that is a maybe. Okay? You don't want to put your money in anything that's, dude, you can't risk this money. Warren Buffett says, don't lose money, number 1. Number 2, don't lose money. I would tell you, number 3, don't lose money. So what can you...
Is this the right guy? Is this the right guy that we're looking for? Soulfly, is this the guy? Let's go to another video. I have a Grant Cardone.
Hey, Grant Cardone here. Hope you're doing well this morning. I want to talk to all of you out there that are thinking about buying a house right now. Maybe you saw one of my videos recently about don't buy a house. Let me explain that to you. Let me explain to you exactly what I mean by that. I'm not saying under any circumstances you would never, ever buy a house. However, I'm saying to you that if you're trying to get someplace in your life financially, if you're trying to progress financially, many of us were taught to buy a home as a way to save money, as a safe place to put money, park money, so that over the next 15, 20, 25, or 30 years, sometimes when you go to retire, your house would be paid for, and then you would somehow have equity cash build up in the house. And that somehow would be a way to, 1, save money, and 2, that renting is expensive and the landlord makes all the money. So just to clarify the point, number 1, I would tell everybody watching right now, 99% of the people watching right now, you don't buy a house, okay? The home that is behind me right here is not my home. I'm renting this house. It's expensive to rent it, okay? But it's more expensive to buy it. Let me explain to you. This home's probably, I don't know, 18, 20 million bucks. For me to buy that house, I'd have to put $4 million down and finance the other 16 over 30 years, right? I'd end up with a payment of, I don't know what that is, 300 grand a year plus the property taxes. Instead, what I did was I came here and rented it for 10 days. When I leave here tomorrow, I'm going to go to Malibu and I'm going to rent another house. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because, look, I'm overpaying for this home, okay? I'm paying too much to use, and that is the key word here, to use this home. My kids are staying here. I have some people that are working with me that are staying here. We're doing a project while we're here. When we leave here, we're going to go to Malibu and do the same thing. How many homes could you own? A lot fewer than you can rent. So let's talk about the primary place where you live and you raise your kids and you have your marriage. Should you own that or should you rent that? I'm going to suggest to you that the best thing you can do is rent where you live and own what you can rent to others. And the reason I'm saying that to you is because you can actually grow scale in buying rental properties that you can't in owning homes. Okay, if you're a real estate investor, if you love real estate, if you like houses, if you like property, if you like land, if you like this whole concept of creating wealth through real estate, I can leverage multifamily, multiple units, rentals, and grow that much faster, if you will, than I can buying one home at a time, sitting in it for 30 years and creating wealth. So I rent where I live. I'm renting this place in Brentwood. Tomorrow I'll rent in Malibu. When I get back to Miami, I rent that place in Miami that I live in. And
okay, let's deal with them. Let's deal with them. Okay. I see these type of guys every day. Every day. Here we are. Who is Grant Cardone? I'm going to do this with 5 minutes observation. In the appearance, he's a motivational speaker, number one. He's also selling financial advice, as we see in his website. Look at the packages. $700, $5,000. Grant Cardone's 10-time business boot camp, $5,000. 10 times growth conference to official recordings, $200. 10 times growth conference, $2,500. 13 times Salesperson Training University expert program. What? Huh? You can go through all these courses and get Grant Cardone certificates all over you. All over you. And I promise you, he may have packaged the information for accelerated learning. That's what these multi-level marketers do. They package information for an accelerated learning. And if you take every course presented here, every one of them, so that you know everything he put out, apparently you look like 3,000, 15,000, 20,000, 21,000, about $21,000, and you have bought. This is a certification programs, phone sale mastery, advanced sale negotiation. Man, stop it. For the price of just one of these packages, for $700, I could buy a library of financial information. A library. It wouldn't be all packaged in such a way that I can cut out the fluff. I would actually have to read them all and absorb a lot of information I didn't need. But I can get beyond this understanding for $700 alone, just in books. Not to mention the multiple hours of free information on the internet. Thousands of hours of free information. If I was just to be patient and take 2 years out my life to spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, studying this information. Let me show you. Let me show you what would happen to you. Let me go to my Facebook. Let me go to my Facebook. Let me go to my Fraternal Order of Pan-Africanism. Let me see what I got going on here. Either write something worth reading or read something worth writing. That's my top post. I'm the administrator. This is my top post. Now I have another post. Let's look for some stuff. 10,000. Oops. 10,000 hours. Your master. If I can't find it here, I'll go find it on the internet. Okay. Let me go into my pictures. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. Trust and believe. I'm going to find it, baby. It's down the road. I mean, this is just multi-level marketing at its finest. See, once you get hot, the guppies will fill in the fishbowl. They will crowd fund into a fishbowl for you. Easy picking. All you got to do is get hot. You might want to take a few courses on public speaking, learn how to traject your voice clearly. Might want to go spend a little money on a good suit, present yourself effectively. Might want to spend a little money on promotions, get the word out. As many see, I can't find that post, so we'll do it this way. It's 1,000 ways to catch a fish. 10,000 hours to be a master. Not gonna take long, baby. This is it. I had put this post in my room. I'm not sure where, what happened to it. 10,000 hours to master your craft. That's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 44 weeks a year for 5.5 years. You better get started, because what you don't need is one of these hype men charging you ridiculous, absorbent amounts of money to pay for their mansions that they live in for 10 days. You guys are so on the hype. $700 he charges for the average boot camp he's selling. Jay Morrison charging $3,000 for his boot camp for accelerated program. As my partner came on here and told you, usually experts compile information and sell it to you. They compile information from books they read, nothing they've created. All of them say the same things eventually, because they're all just repeating each other. As my partner repeated my man from Apple, from a documentary he watched. It was good information. He shared it with you. You want to be a real estate expert? How about you spend 8 hours a day for 5 days a week for 44 weeks? You'll be done in 5.5 years. By that time, real estate will have been plummeted so low that you'll have the knowledge to come into a undervalued market and win. Now let's go. So all I can tell you, Soulfly, to end the conversation on a Grant Cardone, he's just one of the many motivational speakers out there that's been coming to us since Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Robert Kiyosaki. What more can you say? Most of them don't have a book that good. Robert Kiyosaki killed it with the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's all they're sharing. Same information, repackaged under their brand. And only people buying this shit is dummies. And those that are in the business, they read everybody. They read all of their competitors. They read their information, see what you're talking about. They don't read it long. They scan it. Okay, I got a copy of the book sitting in there cut. It's really, you can't get this down pat unless you do the work. It's going to take you 10,000 hours. If you want to be that good, if you want to be as good as they are, it's going to take you 10,000 hours. This is the mathematical equation of how to be a master I'm going to tell you, you can get this knowledge for free. Most of it is on the internet. Most of their books are PDFs. If not their book, somebody's book, for free. Wikipedia full of information. Internet full of information. We live in the information world. But you want the accelerated dummies course. Because you don't want to, you want to be a master, but you don't want to spend the 10,000 hours. That's a long time, 5.5 years studying. This is why there are not many masters. Take too long. We don't want to put in the time. We want to drink the wine, but we don't want to put in the time. So at the end of the day, I wouldn't give Grant Cardone a goddamn dime for none of that shit. I listened to him where I could for free. I'm not about to give him no money for no advice that I got to pay for. Not on these subjects. Now, somebody mentioned he's a Scientologist, right? He's been cleared. All right. That's not going to fray on his real estate knowledge. He knows what he knows. He's put into 10,000 hours. It will weigh in on his moral character over time. It'll weigh in. But in the world of finances, it's almost an exact science. A plus B equals C. It's not a complete exact science because there's so much speculative information out there. No one can determine anything to a 100% certainty. I listen to a lot of financial people. I don't pay them nothing. Give these niggas nothing. If they got a righteous cause, I might donate. If I see you out there doing something righteous, I give you a little dollar. I ain't that pathetic. But it does show us that the college could be a ripoff. There are many people paying to go to college for this information. But that's establishment. They plan on going to work for the big boys. And the big boys only want to deal with establishment. Only time they don't deal with establishment is when you're special. Jay Morrison is special. He mentioned in a video of his various investors that were impressed with his ability to con the masses. He didn't mention that they invested. He said, we're willing to be partners, but not the type of partner that the investors are. Those are the idiot partners. The type of partnership they're willing to do is put their name on a property and utilize some of that capital. Even though they got big bread, he names, billion-dollar companies, $4 billion controlling $4 billion of people's money. Theirs is being traded on the stock market. Jay Morrison's is a private fund. Small cap. He's a small cap. $10 million small cap. You can get about 3 good investments before you're stressing for money. Jay Morrison says he wants to buy a school with the fund so he could rent it to the Jay Morrison Academy and have an instant client. Boy, that's a good one, Jay. God damn, boy. I'm impressed too. God damn, I love a good hustler. I always had hustling homies. They were some of my closest friends, my hustling homies. I used to be like, you niggas is crazy. I used to tell them, I had a little bootleg club back in the day. Don't come sweat me about it. This shit's a long time ago. Selling a little bootleg liquor. Reason I did it is because it was in the gray area. When I looked up the law, it said, if you break this code, you're going to have to pay a fine. I said, a fine? How much? First fine, $5,000. Second fine, $15,000. You get to a third fine, we're going to up the ante on you. I said, well, damn. You mean to tell me I have the potential to make $300,000 a year, and should I get caught before I complete that, you want $5,000? Yeah. Yeah. Bet. Bet. That's a bet. And I went into the gray area. And I used to tell my homies, y'all get cracked and do time. I get cracked and pay a fine. It didn't work out anyway. Greed stepped in. We didn't make a dime, really. Greed stepped in. Greed is always involved. Greed is a deadly sin. I got clarification on greed. It's a very deadly sin. It is a very deadly sin. You don't want to be influenced by your own greed. It's a horrible thing. I don't understand why so many people are so reliable to look to the Bible. I mean, not to the Bible, to look to the internet for leadership. The internet is a tool of the many tools that should be in your toolbox. But you guys, you follow these guys to the ends of the earth. And it's a shame. I'm going to take y'all, I got to do it this way because y'all threw away this book. Many of y'all threw away this book. And because you threw away this book, you don't get this lesson. So I'm going to take you to the parable of the rich fool. This is Luke 12 and 13. And it reads, someone in the crowd said to him, teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. Jesus replied, man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you? Question. Then he said to them, watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. That's a cold line. Be on guard against all kinds of greed. Because the essence of life does not center around the abundance of possessions. That's not what you're here for. It's good when you've accumulated them, but not good when you accumulate them through greed. You want too much. What's wrong with you? Why you listen to Dr. Ben tell you to throw that Bible away? Why you think the white man wrote that? The white man don't operate like that. Not the ones in control. The ones in control operate on greed. That's the reason why you a slave. And you are a slave. You're what they call an economic slave. There was a time when the white man was even greedier than that. And not only were you an economic slave, but you were also a physical slave. You're cattle on someone's farm. They're breeding you for an exact purpose. They're breeding you. Soulfly, your man, Grant Cardone, is just another motivational speaker trying to get $1 out of you, trying to get $1 or $2 out your pocket because he realizes you don't know much. So why don't you learn how to buy used financial books for $3, $4, $1? It doesn't matter the year it was printed. Very few things change in the psychological makeup of finances. Very few things change. And why don't you start working on your 10,000 hours? Do yourself a favor and work on your 10,000 hours. It's not that hard. You just simply have to do the work. You can't continue to have an accumulation of hustlers that are your role models to education. You got to get yourself grounded again. You got to get back grounded, morally grounded, and of a sound understanding as you approach the financial world. It's full of snakes. Nobody loves you in finances. Trust me. Nobody loves you. The best of the best don't love you. Loving you makes no profit. And this is all about the profit. There's nothing else to do but love the profit. Well, I think that show was jam-packed. I think y'all got a lot out of me for a little bit of nothing. Just another hour out of my life to entertain you mentally. See you later. I'm the Digital Pit Boss.